For Burton and Kendal to Bewcastle Moor, Nanted to Codderton, this is Cumbria,
Hello there and welcome to Cumbria. I'm Nick Brownlee, but I'm afraid there's no Tara Valente this week, or indeed for the next few weeks. Why? Well, it's a long story, and I know that Tara's just itching to tell you all about it when she's back, and indeed when she's able. But fear not, because stepping into my sidekick's size 10 sketches this week is a real Cumbrian superstar. In no particular order, she's a teacher, a stand-up comedian, a podcaster, a blogger, an all-round good egg, and her name is Sarah Ledger. Hello, Sarah.
Good afternoon, Nick. How are you?
Did I miss anything from your illustrious CV?
Well, dog owner, because you can hear us scratching about on the old laminate flooring there.
So apart from getting a panic call from me, what's been the highlight of your week? Would it have anything to do with naked tennis and mile-high sex romps by any chance?
Well, yes, but all vicariously. I wasn't actually doing any of those things myself, but I was. I went to see Dame Jilly.
Right.
So, Jilly Cooper. I'm sure everybody knows who Jilly Cooper is. She wrote a series of what was known as bongbusters. Sounds really rude.
Bonking, yes. It's a very 80s word.
It is a very 80s word, and it sounds as if it's all kind of a little bit accidental and haphazard. I'm not sure the time. I'm not sure it's my favourite word. Anyway, Jilly Cooper wrote these bonkbusters, Riders, Rivals, Polo, Man Who Made Husbands Jealous, the whole series of them, the Rutshire Chronicles they're known as. Rut being the
operative.
Yes.
And
Rivals, I think, is the only one that doesn't have a double entendre in the title. Everything else is like mount, ride, no, not ride, mount, jump, tackle. That's the most recent one. I was hoping she was going to set one in a cormorant sanctuary called Shag.
Well, she missed the opportunity there, didn't she?
Yes, or a MasterChef one called Sauce. Anyway, the first one, Riders, it's got this hero, Rupert Campbell-Black, who's such a bastard in the first one that I didn't even realise he was supposed to be the hero. And then I read the second one, Rivals, really loved it. It's a very, very good romp. It's about a franchise bid in the 80s for a TV company, and there's Tony Baddingham, again, clue is in the name, and he's pitched against our heroes, the aforementioned Rupert Campbell-Black, who has a penis that's compared to a cruise missile in one chapter.
Yes.
At one point she says she was so much like a cruise missile she expected to see Greenham women camped around it.
As subtle as a brick.
Well, just beautifully, every bit of the 80s in there. Anyway, it's been taken on by Disney Plus in a very un-Disney move, and they've made this 8-part series starring David Tennant, Aidan Turner, Danny Dyer,
yes,
who's marvellous, I have to say, Catherine Parkinson, and
Cumbria's Kelly McGrillis.
Yeah, from Scotby.
Yeah.
She plays Valerie Jones, who is the kind of upwardly mobile but originally working class aspirational wife of Freddie Jones. She's quite vulgar.
Yes.
And
she's very good, actually.
Doesn't fit in with the set.
I've actually watched it. I watched it in one whole
Did you?
I did, and it was brilliant.
Terrible ice cream headache. Oh my God!
I wasn't quite sure, what to expect, because I've never read any Jilly Cooper, but it was kind of what it was billed to be, really, and it started off with what's his name having in the Mile High Club.
Yes,
and it didn't really cease from there. It was just constant, and the new tennis bit was quite something as well.
Yeah.
So why were you down in London? What was going on?
So Jilly Cooper. So the week it was the week the first episode was shown, I had a Jilly Cooper party here. We had to dress up as characters from the novel, and we had to bring food that was mentioned in the novel. And then I went to see her at the South Bank Centre. She was speaking, and Alex Hassel was there. He plays Rupert Campbell-Black, very sweet and charming in real life. One of the writers was there, Laura Wade, and Catherine Parkinson was there, and Jilly herself. So there was an audience of about 2,000 people.
Wow.
It was Menopause Central.
I can't imagine you being a Jilly Cooper fan, though. You're far too cerebral for that.
Oh, well, look.
I imagine, come on. I imagine you're reading Proust and all sorts in your
read Proust
garret.
And Jilly Cooper, but she makes Proust references. She's highly literary. She's really, really well read. She references Catullus. I think her plots are Dickensian. I think some of her characters are Austen-esque.
This must have been a huge worry to the producers that as soon as it came out that around TV sets around the nation there's going to be Jilly Cooper fanatics like you.
Who know it off by heart.
Ready to pick it to bits. So they must have been very relieved at the reaction that they got, and especially if there was 2,000 people down in London.
Just roaring approval.
Wow.
Just, every time Jilly sort of sniffed or sneezed, there was a round of applause. But I think Laura Wade, she's a very interesting writer. She's a playwright, and Dominic Treadwell Collins is the other writer. He was a showrunner for EastEnders for a long time.
Right.
They've done something. I think they've done something really very clever.
Why do you think they've done it though? Because it's kind of not in the zeitgeist at the moment in 2024 to have this 80s style romp.
Well, I think it's like. Now, you're a bit younger than me, aren't you?
I would like to.
I'm 85. No, I'm nearly 60.
Right.
Blimey. Do you remember Happy Days in the 70s?
Yeah.
Well, it feels like they've it feels like it's period drama. I mean, I was there in the 80s. I was a sentient adult in the 80s.
Yes.
Not a terribly sensible adult in the 80s. And now this is period drama.
That's interesting. Yeah, I guess it is, because it was a while ago, wasn't it?
And it's knowing enough. I mean, it was a satire at the time. It was a social critique at the time, in a way. But they're able to ramp that up because they're looking ironically at the 80s.
My dad worked for Tyne Tees Television and Yorkshire Television back in the 80s, and I remember he was in the sort of corporate side of things, and I remember him getting very excited about these deals that had to be done to get the new franchises. Yeah. And I asked him, I said, was it like Rivals? Were you sort of bed hopping and all this? And he said, I'm not going to tell you, son.
Oh, so yes, it was.
So he's gone up highly. I was just, in my estimation, I was kind of wondering who he might have been. He's probably Tony Baddingham, but yeah. But yeah. Anyway, that's really interesting. So you're going to watch the next suit because they left it on a edge, didn't they?
Yeah.
So they're obviously going to do some more.
And they're all teasing us. Oh, we don't know if it's going to be. I mean, it's obviously all written and scheduled and whatever. Yeah, I just think it's very well done.
All right, Maria, I'm top Cumbrian voiceover artist Drew Campbell, and when I want to know what's going on, I listen to Cumbria,
Well, as you know, this podcast is all about what's been making the headlines, obscure or otherwise, here in Cumbria. And I suppose the three major stories this week were there was a fire at BAE Systems in Barrow, there was the budget, and there was also Halloween. So of those three, did any cross your radar particularly? I did see a particularly scary picture of you on Facebook.
Well, I suddenly thought, I would like to dress up as a witch.
Right. As you do. You do a lot of dressing up these days, don't you, Sarah? It's not Rivals, it's Halloween.
I know. I've never really liked dressing up. I've always been a bit... but I don't know, I've suddenly found my dressing up niche. So I thought, what a hilarious wheeze it would be to dress up as a witch.
Yes.
And give out the trick-or-treat candy or sweets or treats on Halloween. So I did that. I dressed up as a witch, and I have to say, I'm a bit surprised that you said that was a scary picture. I thought it was a very lovely picture. I think a witch's hat with a veil.
Yes.
I thought that brought out the best of me. I think that's what my wardrobe's been missing. So I've got a cloak and some gloves.
They used to put people like you on a ducking stool.
Oh, yeah, well, they'd have to catch me first.
But, I mean, did you get any kids coming?
Yes.
Did they run any screams?
Child went, I need to go to another house. And disappeared.
Don't blame me.
I had to tone down the wicked laughter because I do a very powerful laugh.
That is very scary.
Yeah, it was a bit scary. It was a bit too much. And towards the end of the evening, I thought, what are you actually doing this for? Get a grip of yourself, woman. So I did it for about an hour.
Right.
And then I thought, this is a bit ridiculous. I'd asked my son to come round because he's 31, he's not a child, because he had some parcels to pick up, and I thought that would really amuse him.
Yeah.
But he came around the next day and he said, I saw on social media that you were dressed as a witch.
I think he's a very sensible young man.
To avoid that. But I was thinking I shouldn't give them sweets. I should give them like a handful of gravel and broken glass and bird feathers.
And what did you give them?
I gave them mini
Gravel,
bars.
bird feathers.
Because that's what you get from a witch, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's pretty good. Were you affected then by the budget? Were you?
It was bloody marvellous.
Did you?
Yeah.
Go on, why?
Yeah, because it's about investment in public services.
Right.
Thought it was very good. I thought she handled it rather brilliantly.
Was there anything that particularly affected you as a Cumbrian teacher?
Well, yes. Yes, there's investment in my industry. You know, I expected to pay more tax. But that's what I voted for. I voted for public services. And I think a lot of it, there's this kind of, oh my God, tax. I think there's a lot of people that will probably share that view. I know not everybody will share that view, but...
well, I mean, the only thing that really affected me was the 50% increase on passenger duty for private jets. Because, as you know, I travel everywhere by private. I know. I landed mine outside your house but that's really going to affect me.
Yeah, so if you could just, calm the blithers down with that one.
Difficult, but... right, okay, well, that was the budget done. What about this fire at BAE Systems? I must admit, I didn't know much about it. I heard it on the news, and then they said, well, it's not going to affect the nuclear plant. At which point, my ears suddenly pricked up. Hang on a second, is South Cumbria going to be wiped out? But I'm not really sure what goes. I know they make submarines, but it seems that there's a lot of other things going down in BAE. Do you know anything about it?
No, I know nothing about BAE. I kind of... and this is probably going to offend some people. I kind of discount Barrow because it used to be Lancashire, and I kind of always consider that,
It's been nice working with you, Sarah. Thanks very much for coming on the show. You just alienated half my audience.
It's going to be outrage. Damn that ledger. And the budget.
God.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
I didn't know. What fire?
Well, it's nice to know you're across the news.
I read the notes you sent me. I was in a taxi actually when you rang me.
Ah, right.
I was in a London cab and I was answering and I'll come and co-host the podcast. I felt
very London.
Yeah, I felt like I was in a kind of Jilly Cooper novel myself.
Can't talk now. Just heading off to the South Bank to see Jilly.
See Dame Jilly and see what she's up to. Yeah.
That's excellent. How much is that taxi while we're around?
Yeah.
This episode of Cumbria Air is supported by Liquid Studios. Liquid is the county's foremost live streaming, digital and video production agency, and they specialise in affordable, targeted TV advertising for local businesses. To find out more, I went along to one of their shoots in Carlisle, where I met the boss, Pete Crouch. Well, here we are again, Pete. We're out of the studio. We're on location. Where are we today?
Oh, this morning, Nick, we're at the Sunny Centre in the middle of Carlisle.
Right, and the Sunny Centre, one of your clients who are doing TV ads.
That's right, we're here to shoot a TV ad that's going to go out on ITVX in the next couple of weeks.
Right, and how does it work today? What are you going to do?
Well, we're going to do several shots of the inside of the showroom. We're going to be shooting the outside, and the ad will be sort of carried along with a voiceover explaining exactly what the Sunny Centre offer.
And how long does it take from sort of today when you're in with a camera to actually getting it on the telly?
Well, once we've got everything in the can today, it'll probably be a couple of days in the edit suite, recording a voiceover, putting some music together. The ad then needs to go through Clearcast to make sure that it's compliant with the BCAP standards. That takes about a week. So from today, we can expect this ad to be live probably by the end of next week.
And if anybody else is thinking about TV advertising, I know you've got a very special offer for them.
I do, Nick, yes. There's a 25% offer of the cost of production at the moment, and that's particularly for people that have never considered TV before or haven't done TV in a while. I'm encouraging them to make use of the platform.
And you're roping me into this as well, aren't you?
You're going to be our willing subject today, Nick. You're going to be pretending to buy a Sony, but in actual fact, you could buy a new TV. I mean, there's so many on display here, it would be daft not to.
Right, okay, I'll bear that in mind. Thank you very much.
Good man, thank you.
For more details about Liquid, and to get a whopping 25% off your next targeted TV ad campaign, contact Pete Crouch at liquidstudios.co.uk, quoting the discount code Cumbria Air TV offer. We can't wait to see you on the telly. Now then, you might not know much about Barrow, but do you know anything about the Borrowdale Banksy?
I do know about the Borrowdale Banksy.
Who is he then? Go on then. Tell me about the Borrowdale Banksy.
Well, he makes these sculptures, these sculptures from natural ingredients. What's the word I'm looking for?
Stone. Natural stone. The earth is made up of many ingredients, one being stone.
And they're kind of anonymous, and they just suddenly appear. And
well, apparently he's done another one.
Yeah,
there's been a few of them which appear, the sort of circular structures are very clever. But so apparently there's been another one which has been discovered, an elegant stone ring as it's been described. And this one has been seen somewhere between Blencathra and Boscell Fell. Have you actually seen one in the flesh?
no, I haven't. It's the sort of thing I'm quite glad I've not seen, because it's the sort of thing I could trip over and like knock down.
I was working for the Keswick Reminder.
Oh, the Keswick reminder.
3 or 4 years ago when
the news is
the Borrowdale,
very urgent.
I tell you, it was ahead of the curve on the Borrowdale Banksy. I'll give you that, because we were the first ones to spot him, and we were the first ones to write the story that somebody had been up and vandalised one of the Borrowdale that kicked it down.
Oh no!
So it was the Borrowdale pile of rubble, but it was very sad. But he's done it again. No, there's been a few sort of suggestions about who this guy might be, and I think there's one that he's a local artist or whatever, but he's never admitted it. But you would think that somebody doing something like that would be easy to spot.
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, they defy gravity.
They are very clever.
That's the thing that you do think, I can make one of those in my garden, and then you think, no, you absolutely couldn't.
I'm just looking at a picture of one now.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, it's they are circular.
Yeah.
And there's nothing holding them up other than, I don't know, gravity, I guess. So.
Yeah, and sort of the way that their architecture, they're very skillful and brilliant.
Why do you think he does it?
Why does anybody do anything? Come on.
Because it's there.
Because it's there. I could see if you were of a mind to make something powerful out of, local ingredients like stone, and you had a few hours spare and you had the skill and the know-how,
You would do it.
I definitely...
So if you had the right ingredients.
If I had the right ingredients, I'd make a sourdough sculpture of,
Get cracking.
Yeah.
Well, I think you should go I think we should go and see it, actually. We'll take a trip out and go and see it, as long as nobody's kicked it down yet.
Well, I'm saying, I don't want to get too close to it in case I had to.
Yeah, that would be a nightmare, wouldn't it? Here we are. You smashed the ingredients. It says here that it has even been suggested that the Borrowdale Banksy could be a dry stone waller.
Oh, well.
I hope it stays a mystery, actually, because it would be quite disappointing if it just turned out with this little guy with specs and a rucksack, and not very interesting.
Or indeed a lady.
Or indeed a lady.
A lady, yeah.
Yes. They do look like one of those things that you step through and you end up in another universe.
In a different portal.
Yeah.
And again... You just imagine like, I thought I could squeeze through, officer.
Maybe that's how the last one got knocked down.
Yeah.
Somebody was trying to squeeze through and end up in some other universe. But
there's a cracking novel set on the borders called The Sturkheim Handshake, where you can go through this portal and you go back into the Reaver times, into the 16th century.
Really?
Yeah.
What's it called?
It's called The Sturkheim Handshake.
It's like the Shanghai Grip.
But there's the Kerr handshake. Do you know about the Kerr handshake?
No.
So the Kerrs are all left-handed. That's why their staircases go round. You can tell a Kerr castle.
And the Kerr, for listeners who don't know, are a Reaver family.
Reaver family, yeah.
The Reavers are they were bandits who strolled around the debatable lands.
Yeah, absolutely, and robbed each other of cattle and burned everybody's things down.
Yeah.
But the Kerrs were all left-handed, and I've taught a lot of Kerrs, and they've all been left-handed.
Really?
Yep.
So this book, you go through a portal and you end up
go back, and it's a nice little bit of science fiction, actually. There's a company that's trying to market the 16th century as a holiday destination, but they're also like mining all the minerals and the oil and the organic food.
Right.
But what they've got to do is tame the Reavers first. And they can't, of course. No one could.
Right.
And of course, every turn they are thwarted because the Reavers go, yeah, we'll do that, and then stab you in the back. Yeah,
steal the cattle.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the whole Reaver history. I was very, very excited to find that my grandma, was descended from Wilsons. The Wilsons did come from Cumbria.
Right.
They came from Wetherell, actually. Which
were they very posh Reavers?
I know, it doesn't really tie in, does it?
Get those cattle off my lawn.
A little bit overexcited that I thought I might be from a little touch of Reaver stock myself.
I can't imagine Reavers coming from
Wetherell.
No, that's They sort of drive around in their Ferraris.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, they had their split level mansion built.
So, are you a big history fan, a big history reader, local history?
I'm very interested in Richard III. Right. Richard III was actually one of the only successful marshals of the debatable lands. Rickergate is named after him. The Routledges of Bewcastle were his sheriffs. He gifted them land.
Right.
And I was teaching Richard III a few years ago, and one of my little lads sat up and went, "I'm a Routledge of Bewcastle," and it's like, ah! Living proof that history happened. Yeah. So I'm very interested in the Reivers, very interested in Richard III, but I'm not very interested in the Tudors. I always think the Tudors are kind of
a bit overdone, aren't they?
Yeah,
overcooked.
Yeah, kind of.
I think we're sick of them. I mean, you talk about period drama. There's bring up the bodies and all that kind of stuff. There's loads of Tudor stuff. Yeah. But I always thought there was a good one to be made about Richard III. I think Shakespeare tried it first, but
he did, and of course that's propaganda.
Yeah.
Well.
Although they dug him up and they did discover that he was a
yes, he was. Back. Yeah, he was. Well, right, I've got a fascinating story for you there about that.
Come on.
Because I was. Well, I think it's fascinating.
I'll be the judge of it.
So I lived in Leicester till I was 11.
Right.
And my dad had offices. He worked in an office on New Street in Leicester, and we were all very interested in Richard III and what had happened to him because he was local. I think we even went on a trip to Bosworth to see what had happened and everything. And I quite often thought about Richard III. He was in my thoughts. And actually, when he was found, it was about 100 yards from my dad's office. I was like, God, he was there all the time.
But they didn't really treat him well after his death, did they? They dragged him through, as I recall, Leicester on the back of a horse, and people were stabbing his backside and all sorts.
They did. Very much like, they did the same to, what's his name? Colonel Gaddafi.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's how you treat tyrants.
That's why I've never been a tyrant, really. It's so the idea of it is okay, but when your downfall inevitably happens, it all ends in tears.
That's it. It's a brutal life. It's kill or be killed.
It is. Yeah.
And all those kings died young because people just trying to murder them so they could become king and go, oh, actually, God's on my side with this.
From Torpenhow to Blancogo to Gilcrux and Berg by Sands, this is Cumbria, eh? Is that right?
Now then, from the sublime to the ridiculous, you found a story which has tickled your fancy, Sarah.
I certainly did. Well, the headline is, Man Who Fled from Police Rounded Up in Sheep Pen.
Of course.
Eden Police said, following reports of shoplifting in B&M, classy, in Penrith today, a fast check of CCTV saw two men getting into a black Fiat 500 and they were followed by a drone, and then they stopped the vehicle and two men ran into the fell. And one man was arrested running up the fell. The other one ran into a sheep pen.
Did they run over with a dog?
I know, I wondered that. I wondered if
hey boy, hey.
Come on.
The young Dan Tetheran. So they got him.
Yeah, they got him.
Well,
why would you run into a sheep pen?
Well, I suppose when you're desperate. I mean, where else did you go?
And you've been to B&M, and the stakes are high. You've got all the pick and mix and the candles and the fluffy cushions that you can ever want.
He's racing up the fell with them in his hands.
Yeah, you've got a couple of ironing boards under your shop.
Well, I don't know if you're aware of this, Sarah, but last week I spotted a story by one newspaper's trending news reporter.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe it was just a one-off. It was a really interesting story about Creaster eggs.
Creaster eggs?
Yes, Easter eggs at Christmas. Anyway, this was the story, and I thought, well, okay, Anyway, the trending news reporter struck again, because I was looking through the local papers today, and I noticed that they've changed the reporter, but the byline remains the same. Lidl is selling Quality Street tubs for the cheapest price among all supermarkets for a limited time.
Wow.
That's the story.
Well, it's a big one.
It is. And again, there's no sort of... there's no Cumbrian aspect to it, or actually interest of any description whatsoever.
Well, I don't know. Quality Street, it's coming up to the anniversary of my dad's death. It's tomorrow. He died a couple of years ago, and he had dementia. And Quality Street was what kept him afloat.
Really?
Yeah, he loved Quality Street. He called it Duality Street. He would quite often offer me a Quality Street, and then there would be nothing in the box apart from a plastic cow on one occasion. He once offered me a Mr. Kipling's cake, and there was nothing in the box apart from an egg. Well,
he'd be delighted with this story then. The Lidl is selling Quality Street tubs.
He would.
Cheapest.
Yeah, because I would go in and I'd
Then maybe there is a point to the trending news reporter then.
Maybe.
I've done them a disservice.
Maybe it's Pete's memorial. I'm fascinated that the trending news reporter is not the same person every week. Is it a generic term for some sort of...
It must be. Or maybe the trending news reporter from last week is on holiday. So maybe it gets passed around, Charlie?
This week...
Do you want the good news or the bad news?
You've got to up your game. You're the trending news reporter. Well, that's fine, because I've got a very big story about Quality Street at Aldi.
Any Cumbrian connection?
Afraid not.
Oh, well, it doesn't matter. Get it in.
If it's proper Cumbria crack you're after, then listen to Cumbria, with Tara Valente and Nick Brownlee. All right, Mara.
Well, a very Cumbrian story I spotted again this week. Hand grenade found on Catbells.
Yeah, what's going on there? Because I wouldn't have thought that Catbells would be a scene of World War II. Is it a World War II hand grenade, or is it just any old hand grenade?
It wasn't a hand grenade.
What was it? Was it a pine cone?
Well, it says Keswick Mountain Rescue Team's 120th call-out of 2024 was unusual after a walker believed they'd found a hand grenade on Catbells. He called the police and up they went, up Catbells. Have you ever been up Catbells?
I have, a long time ago.
It is a Wainwright, isn't it? It's the smallest.
Yeah, it's tiny weeny,
Yeah. And they sent the police up there and probably a bomb disposal unit who discovered it and said it was assessed not to be an explosive. Although they haven't said what it was.
It's not going to be one of those...
A pine cone could have been a pine cone.
Well, it's not going to be one of those things like those pre-workout things that you get in grenade-shaped bottles. It could be that.
That's interesting.
My brother worked, when he was a teenager, for a butcher in the market. And one day he brought home a pig's tail, which I thought was hilarious.
Right.
And there was a number of, jokes, people having it hanging out their trousers and blah, 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 blah. And then they all went out for a night out, and then they got drunk, and then they dropped it through somebody's letterbox.
Nice.
And the next day, it was reported to the police. And it was a headline in the News and Star, gruesome find on city doorstep. Because they first of all thought it was a finger. How anyone would have thought it was a finger?
Very curly finger.
Yeah, it was like, and there was a number of a mate of mine wrote the story for it, actually, and he wrote a number of police are pointing the finger at, they believe criminals may have had a hand in this.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. So is it actually illegal to put a pig's tail in the post?
No, it was. They claimed in the paper that it could have sparked a murder hunt because it looked like a body
for
part.
goodness sake.
But I mean, come on.
I suppose if they're sending up bomb disposal units up to Catbells.
It a headline. It was a slow day.
But I was wondering, had it been a grenade, where it might have come from? Somebody just wandering up Catbells thinking, right, I'm going to chuck a grenade off the top, and dropped it. They get to the top of Catbells. Oh no!
A grenade.
Where's my grenade gone? All that way. I mean, I imagine if they'd gone up Scarfell.
Yeah.
All that way up Scarfell, and they get to the top to chuck a grenade. They've left it. I
would hope if you're going to take a grenade somewhere, you'd be a little bit more responsible and you would not have holes in your grenade pockets.
Yeah.
But then it wasn't a grenade, was it?
It wasn't. So. But you see, this is the thing. They don't explain what it was. And had I been the reporter working on this particular story, I would have...
You've dug a bit further.
I said, well, what was it?
Been the trending reporter.
Trending reporter.
And you'd have gone the extra mile.
The grenade correspondent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned Carlisle Market. It's not looking good for them, is it, at the minute? There was a story in the paper this week that stall holders have issued, quote, desperate plea for change at the site. They're continuing to struggle with a lack of footfall, an increase in rent and service charges. I went in there to get my hair cut a couple of weeks ago.
Yes. I'm one of the greengrocers, maybe.
Thanks very much. Anyway, they were complaining about the fact that these things are happening, the fact that nobody goes there. Increase in rent, service charges. Are you a sort of market hall denizen?
I'm one of those people that goes, it's so terrible, our city centres are just decomposing and they're not, and then I don't go shopping.
You don't go in there?
No, I do everything online and then I feel bad about it because I think, well, that's the cost. I mean, in its day, that place was absolutely amazing.
They used to have bands on there, didn't they? It used to be...
in the market hall?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the first ever band I saw live.
Who was that?
It's Status Quo.
Really?
29th of May, 1979. Actually, that's another of my obsessions is Status Quo.
Oh, right. Okay.
I would love to write a biopic of Status Quo because Rick Parfitt started out in cabaret. Did you know that?
No.
Rick Parfitt, so the blonde...
The late Rick.
The Ray... Oh, God. Do you know, I honestly think that Rick Parfitt and me could have had a future together.
Wow.
I just think...
Did you ever meet him?
No.
So
I'd be his grieving widow if I'd met him. Come on.
So apart from the fact you never met him, you could have been...
I definitely think we would have been a match made in heaven. But I just think he was a genius.
Well, what about the other guy, Francis Rossi?
The other guy, well, he not so much. Although I do love Francis Rossi in his own way. I dreamed about Francis Rossi last night, actually.
All right.
And I remember, and I told him about the Market Hall. It's all very impressive. I just think their dynamic is absolutely fascinating.
They were a bit of a one-trick pony, though, weren't they? Sort of.
Yeah, it's a fucking good trick, though, isn't it?
I suppose, yeah. Yeah. If I was a pony, I guess that would be the trick I'd like to have, you know.
And they were well aware of that. They were very self-aware, and they had. I mean, you call it now a bromance.
Yeah.
But there's this absolute, this absolute chemistry between them.
Yeah.
But the really sad thing about it is I can barely remember anything about this particular gig.
Oh, right.
Apart from I was squashed right into the studs on the back of this Greb's denim jacket. Like, what? I couldn't see. And my friend and I went with a lad that we both fancied.
Uh-huh.
And he let us sit on his shoulders. I was considerably lighter then. Didn't kill him. He's not dead. And I remember being really jealous because she sat on his shoulders twice and I sat on her shoulder. So it kind of was wrecked by that.
Would you go then and see a Status Quo tribute act?
There's millions of them, and no, I would not.
Why not?
Because it's not Ricky.
Because, I mean, Carlisle, and Cumbria generally is a bit of a haven for tribute bands.
Yes.
I'm amazed that there hasn't been a Status Quo tribute act on in Carlisle.
Oh, well, there's loads of
10 minutes.
State of Quo. One of them, actually, Rick Parfitt's son plays with. He's about 16. And I was thinking, actually, he could play his own father in my biopic.
Who would play the two leads?
I don't know. I watched Midas Man the other day.
What's that?
About Brian Epstein.
Oh, yeah.
And they got the ugliest man in the world to play George Harrison.
Who did they have?
A very, very ugly young man who looked like a George Harrison doll had been put through a boil wash.
Oh, dear.
So I hated Bohemian Rhapsody. Have you seen Bohemian
Yes, I have,
Rhapsody?
yeah.
Where they go, oh, I've thought of a song.
Yes.
I'm feeling a bit bohemian today. Are you, darling? So am I. I'm Freddie Mercury. It was like that. But I really liked Rocket Man because it wasn't real. Because it was so stylized. Mm-hmm. So I thought you could get away with it.
Right.
But I found the whole night. Because the irony is they had the ugliest. My brother sent me a text going, they managed to find 4 uniquely ugly actors to play the Beatles. But then my daughter said, oh, I thought the Beatles were ugly. I thought that was the whole point of the Beatles. They got by on their talent.
Well, Ringo.
Rather than their look.
No oil painting, Ringo.
Well, we used to have a game called, when I was a younger woman, called Who Would You Do It With First, right?
All right, here we go.
Yeah. And Ringo, for me, George Harrison, obviously the first, right? Because this is, if you're in a life or death situation, you have to have sexual, carnal knowledge of a group of various people.
Yeah.
Who would you do it with first? So George Harrison, not a doubt, would be the first one. But Ringo, I found, I don't think I'd do it with John Lennon at all.
What about Paul?
Oh, he'd be third. Be fine. But I think. I
bet he's delighted to hear that if he listens to this.
This is all really inappropriate. But I know. But we had the Bible, we had the Jungle Book. We also had Figures of the Reformation.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And who came top of the charts in that one? Erasmus. Yeah. Well, I don't know what Erasmus looks like.
Erasmus, it's not what he looked like.
I imagine he has
the vibe that he was giving off.
Oh, right. Was it a sort of come hither look in his eye?
It was kind of an integrity to. He's kind of proto-feminist. So I would have definitely Erasmus. And then we also had one for. Oh, I'm remembering this now. We also had one for all the writers of our A-level English text.
Right.
So Shakespeare, Hobbes.
Oh, yeah.
No one would do it with John Milton.
No, a bit dull.
And then we all felt sorry for Virginia Woolf and D.H. Lawrence, so we kind of had them as a kind of threesomes. I can't put this on.
So you've got a fair old selection there, haven't you? Rick Parfitt.
Yeah. Rick
Harrison.
Parfitt's my top favourite. Rick Parfitt is in the...
And Erasmus.
And Erasmus, yeah. Like, peculiar bedfellows. No, that would be my alternative universe, you see. I would have been Rick Parfitt's.
So when you go through one of Borrowdale Banksy's holes into into an alternative universe, who should be standing there? Erasmus and Rick Parfitt.
And Rick Parfitt, and I'd go, Erasmus, I'm sorry.
Erasmus would be so upset about that.
Oh, he'd get over it. He'd work it out.
All right, Mara, you're listening to Cumbria with Tara Valente and Nick Brownlee.
Well, that's about it for this episode, Sarah. On that note, thanks very much for stepping in with your words of wisdom this week.
I'm not sure wisdom's the word, but...
I'm not sure it is either, but it's certainly been eye-opening.
Low-grade smut.
And listen, thanks to you lot for listening and for the amazingly positive response to the first episode we've had. Truly amazing. You can catch up with us on Facebook and YouTube. And if you want to get in touch with us, well, here's top Cumbria voiceover artist Drew Campbell to tell you more. See you next time.
Got any crack, Mara? Get in touch with Tara and Nick at cumbria.eh@gmail.com or check out the website cumbria-eh.co.uk. Mara!